Hey guys, it's Lindsay Caesar. I did my project this time on Passionflower. I'm going to talk about its history, its medical uses, and future directions for research. Just to throw it out there, I did wake up with really bad laryngitis this morning. You might be able to tell I'm a little bit croaky right now, so I might have to frequently pause and have coughing fits. So if it seems kind of chunky, that's why. I'm sorry about that. On the left here I have a picture of Passionflower. You can see it's a unique flower. It has these really interesting sort of fringe-like segments coming off of it, many different layers of petals and sepals, all very showy, very beautiful flower. So a little bit about the physical description of Passionflower. Common names include Passionflower, Holy Trinity flower, Maypop, and the scientific name is Passionflower incarnata. Over on the left side I've included a line drawing of the plant. You can see it has some structures that a lot of vines have, these sort of tendril, spiraling tendrils on the side that help it cling to things as it climbs up. So it's really good at adhering to walls, trellises, along the ground, up trees, really anything like that. And it can reach about 25 feet in height. The leaves are alternately arranged. You can see they have these three segments, so they're tripomately compound. And they are finely serrated and textured and a little bit hairy, but really fine hairs. And the showy flowers, as I talked about a bit more on the previous slide, are typically purple, occasionally white, anywhere from dark purple to white, with bits and pieces of white and purple on different parts of the flower. That typically blooms in June to September. You can also see at the base of this picture we have the fruit, which is typically yellow, and it is edible, very delicious. That's typically completely ripe in late summer, late July to mid-autumn, around October. And that is also a pretty popular fruit on its own. So a bit about the habitat. I've included another USDA map so you can see where the native range of Passionflower is in the United States. And it goes pretty much from the East Coast all the way over to Texas. So it has a pretty wide range. Within those states as well, it has pretty broad requirements. So it can be grown in fields, slopes, forests, roadsides even, really pretty much anywhere, as long as it has direct sunlight for at least 8 hours a day. Whether this is morning sun or afternoon sun or a combination doesn't really matter. But as long as it has that solid 8 hours, that's what it needs. Obviously, it prefers fertile, well-drained soils, like most plants do, but it can flourish in heavy clay as well. So it does pretty well in South Carolina with all the red clay around. It's incredibly easy to propagate. You can do it by seed, by cuttings, but because of this ease of propagation, it does tend to be invasive in some areas. It also naturally suckers at the base, so where you plant the plant in the ground, it will sometimes asexually reproduce by suckers. And you can remove these and then also propagate them, or if you just want to kind of curb that spread of the plant, you can remove those suckers to stop it from being too invasive. So something about the etymology of the plant that I found really interesting was that the early Spanish explorers named the plant Passionflower, also known as Holy Trinity flower, because of this crown of fringe-like segments. It reminded them of the crown that Jesus wore on the cross, which was thought to represent the suffering of Jesus. So then they named it Passionflower, or Passionflower incarnata, or the Holy Trinity flower. It has a huge history of historical use. It's been found in herbals from all around the world, including Switzerland, Egypt, India, the United States, Germany, France, and Great Britain. Native Americans used it for a wide variety of things. For culinary purposes, they made the fruit into syrup and juice. And I've included a picture of some juice made from the passion fruit on the side. And the roots were used to make infusions, and these infusions could be used topically to treat wounds and boils and earaches, and also used as a popular sedative to treat nervous disorders such as hysteria. As you'll see in a few slides, though, the fact that the Native Americans typically used roots is actually a bit contradictory, because we'll see where the compounds that are actually medicinal are in a little bit. So modern day medicine uses Passionflower mostly as an anti-anxiety drug. It's been studied pretty thoroughly in animal trials, but there have been few clinical trials on humans, which does appear successful. And these anti-anxiety trials have mostly been done with actual ingestion of passionflower. Aromatherapy studies haven't really been done in this regard. Preliminary effectiveness has been shown in other studies as well, and these it can be used to treat sexual dysfunction, particularly male sexual dysfunction, as well as insomnia, cough and convulsions, and substance addiction. And this can be anywhere from nicotine, marijuana, alcohol. It does show preliminary success with those types of things. On the base here, I've just included some tablets of passionflower, but this is only one of several forms that it can come in. You can get it in tinctures, obviously aromatherapies as well, and all these different forms of the plant have different success rates as well. So the active compounds in passionflower are many. They have essential oils. They also have bioactive flavonoids such as luteolin, quercetin, chrysin, and benzoflavones. And they also have indole alkaloids, harmon, harmine, harmalol, and harmaline. And these I've included on the side here. You can see they all have very similar structure with those 3 rings, the nitrogen 5 ring in the middle. And there's just very subtle differences in these compounds. If you look closely, you'll be able to tell where those are. I'll go into a bit more about these in a bit. So there's several proposed mechanisms, although none of them have really been successfully shown to be the true mechanism. The benzoflavones are the primary constituents involved in treating sexual dysfunction. It inhibits the aromatase enzyme, and this one I included on the side here, just a 3D image of that, and it does so by preventing the conversion of testosterone into its metabolites. So this allows for a higher concentration of testosterone, greater sperm counts, and helps treat impotence in that way. There's been several modes of action proposed for passionflower's central nervous system depression. The hormone alkaloids are MAOIs, so they inhibit MAO enzymes, and this could have an effect on anxiety, reducing the overall effect of anxiety. And then the flavonoid chrysin also has been suggested to have GABA receptor and benzodiazepine receptor mediative effects. So these have been suggested as possible mechanisms, but we don't really know for sure what those mechanisms are. There's a few interactions that you need to look out for when taking passionflower, but again, since we don't know the mechanisms or what chemicals are involved, it's difficult to say what those interactions are. Since it does have sedative effects, it does increase benzodiazepine action. So you shouldn't take it if you're taking benzodiazepines, because it will cause lots of side effects, including tremors, nausea, exhaustion, dizziness, things like that. Here at the base, I've just included the chemical structure of lorazepam, which is one of the most popular benzodiazepines used today. So, as you have seen a bit already, there are several limitations in current research. Not only are the compounds poorly understood biochemically, but anxiety itself is poorly understood biochemically. So, when we don't even know how anxiety works, it's very difficult to understand how easy anxiety works. So we can't really necessarily determine these biochemical mechanisms, especially if they're working in conjunction with one another. And what I talked about earlier, the underground portions of passionflower are not anxiolytic, which means anti-anxiety. So this is a little bit interesting because the Native Americans used the underground portions of passionflower almost exclusively. But studies using the whole plant as a result could be confounded because they do contain a bunch of plant material that doesn't have those compounds. Another thing to look out for is that the passionflower species are not all medicinal, and they look very similar. Passionflower edulis is almost indistinguishable in morphology. The Passionflower edulis is here at the bottom. And you can see it has the same morphology. The color is slightly different, but there's a lot of individual to individual variation between passionflowers, so it's hard to tell which one is which. This bottom one is edible, it still has that delicious passion fruit, but the medicinal properties aren't there. So studies could have potentially used this Passionflower edulis, which not only has the same morphology, but also has a lot of the same native range, same growing requirements. So it's definitely something to look out for. So future directions of research. We definitely need to undergo more clinical trials on humans. We've had preliminary success in understanding how passionflower works and how effective it is against treating anxiety, especially in animals, but we need to move this on towards humans as well. More clinical trials, more mechanistic studies. It's really important for us to understand how these plants are working, what compounds are involved, and what enzymes are involved within the body. This will not only help us isolate those individual chemicals, but also help us understand interactions with other drugs, to help us better know when passionflower is a good idea and when it is not. So here are my references. Again, I really enjoyed reading these papers, so if you're interested in learning any more about passionflower, these would be some good ones to read. Thank you.